Welcome to International Love Story, the podcast about intercultural relationships. My name is Christina, and in today's podcast episode, I would like to welcome Ahlam and Ashley. Ahlam is originally from Morocco, and Ashley is from the UK, and they are both reunited, sitting in the UK right now, so on the other end of the world, at least for me. Let's give a warm welcome to Ahlam and Ashley.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having us. We're happy to be here and to share our love story and our journey and how we got where we are right now. Yeah, this is Ahlam. I was gonna say I'm 28. I just forgot that I turned 29. I'm 29 years old. I am from Morocco, and what about you?
Meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
My name is Ashley, and Helen's my amazing wife, and we have been married now for a year, and we're living together in London, in the United Kingdom. She's the apple of my eye, and so I'm very happy that she's here, and we're living together after all that led us to here, and looking forward to having a discussion and chat about our history and our love story.
So you guys are definitely going to walk down memory lane, so to speak. I'm also curious because you've just mentioned that you are married since 1 year. Is today your anniversary? Because I know that.
No, well, it's a year and almost 2 months.
Yeah. So I didn't know.
13 months, 14 months.
Yeah, we got legally married last July in Marrakesh, which is Ahlam's home city, but we had the wedding in September.
Yeah.
So we've been legally married for more than a year, but in terms of its
wedding ceremony.
Yeah, the wedding ceremony kind of anniversary is coming up this month, in a couple of weeks. So that's how we kind of see it.
This is what I read. I actually found your Instagram profile obviously on Instagram, but from like another account that featured your story. And I was just wondering, obviously, about how you guys got to know each other, the whole journey of your intercultural wedding. So as far as I understand, there was more than one wedding. But before we get there, bring us back a little bit. How did it all started? How did you meet? How did it feel like? So let's just set the setting.
Okay, so we met on Bumble, and he was visiting Morocco for the first time ever with his friends. He was on holiday with his friends, and they went to Agadir, which is a Moroccan city on the coast.
On the coast, yeah.
But I'm from Marrakesh, which is maybe 3.5 hours ride, and my sister lives in Agadir. So I was visiting her at the time. And that's kind of how we crossed paths. I was in Agadir because I was visiting my sister, and he was in Agadir because he was on holidays with his friends. And that's how we matched on Bumble. But we kind of missed each other because by the time we started talking on the app, I was already back in Marrakesh. So we never really got to meet in person while he was in Morocco at the time. This was October 2022.
Yeah, October 10, 2020.
Yeah.
I've been living in London for nearly a year. And I had a new job in that year, and been living in London for 2022, and just discussing with friends where should we go on holiday, and because we hadn't really had a trip together ever, even though we've been friends for years and years. And we were like, let's discuss where we're going to go. Should we go Europe? And we settled upon Morocco for some reason, because I think it was Morocco is just a bit below Spain, but it's convenient to fly to. It's getting a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a tourist hub. It's getting, as a place to go to visit that's beyond Europe, but also close by. Flights
are somewhat cheap.
Yeah, flights are somewhat cheap. Time zone, etc. One of my friends who's on the trip wasn't a fan of it originally because his parents went to Morocco in the 80s. They hated it. So we're like, dude, it's 30 years on, things have changed, I'm sure it's great now, And he was like, that's my parents. I was like, come on, man, let's roll the dice. I'm sure it's great. And we could have gone to Turkey or Egypt, I distinctly remember pulling up my iPad in the pub where we'd met in London after work, and we were just looking at options on the map, literally looking at Google Maps. Little did I know that would have such a huge impact upon my own life, looking at deciding where I want to go for holiday. And I remember looking at Morocco thinking, well, actually, just check it out. I mean, why not? So rather than go do the usual sort of holiday spots that people might go to, let's go somewhere a bit beyond. And I remember looking at the coastline, Moroccan coastline, and somehow coming across Agadir, a place that I'd never even heard of before. So I heard of places like Marrakesh and Casablanca, etc., but I hadn't heard of Agadir, even though it's quite a prominent city on the coast of Morocco. And it's a tourist spot as well, full of hotels and resorts, and ended up convincing my friends that that's where we should go. We booked it, planned it, etc. By the time and so I was laid up for most of the week. I luckily got better like a day or two before we had to fly, and flew out there. And I think I went on Bumble because I was using the apps at that time in my life in London and etc. So, and I can very much remember, I think it was maybe not the very first night I was there, but I think it was the second night I was there. I can remember quite clearly, like instantly, just liking her profile. And I just had this gut feeling straight away, just her picture selections she had, and and I was like, okay, I was very much intrigued and enthusiastic, and then I think you maybe messaged me because the way Bumble works is the woman,
the female has to message first.
And so I think you messaged me maybe later that same night, and my initial impression of Ahlam was that she was like, what did I say to you? That like I said to you a few times, that initial impression of who I thought you were was a bit different than.
Oh yeah, he had the impression that I was like a super outgoing girl, like likes to party, that kind of vibe, which is the complete opposite of me. Which is the complete opposite. Like I barely go out. I've never like partied in my life. I've never stepped a foot in a nightclub or anything like that. So he had a big surprise coming his way.
And the thing is, I wasn't necessarily looking for that. It was just
it's just
when you're on your apps, you spread your net pretty wide and far. And I still liked how she looked and how she came across. So. But that was my initial impression. But actually, she was very much a different kind of person. But actually, that was a great thing. I'm glad she was actually like that, because it made the relationship more. I think it gave us much more opportunity to succeed. I just remember you said hi, and we were just sending messages back and forth a little bit and joking around.
Yeah, I remember my first message to him was, "Why are you not in Marrakesh?" Because I got excited when I saw his profiles. Like, this looks promising. And then, at the bottom of the profile, you see the location, and just when I got my hopes up, and then I look at the location, and everything just went crashing down because I see he's not in Marrakesh, he's in Agadir. Yes. And I just got back from there, and I was like, oh.
The thing is, though, is actually it was somewhat of a good fortune. Well, because it could have easily gone differently. Because she actually left Agadir, I think the night before or the day before I even arrived. So it wasn't as if I had arrived and she left on the same day. She actually already left the day before I even arrived. But I don't think you used Bumble or whatnot.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because I was just I was feeling down, and I was bored, and I was having a rough week at work. So I just was I needed some time, some alone time. I'm just gonna get a week off work, and I'm just gonna travel. And that was the first time ever I've traveled on my own. And I just went to this nice, cozy, small city in Morocco. It's called Essaouira. I went there. I spent 3-4 days there, and then I went to Agadir and spent 3 days there, and went back home to Marrakesh. So I was just in the mood, and I went to Agadir, and Essaouira was going out on my own, to dinner or something, and I could see couples around. I'm I want that. So I was very much in my field. So I went on Bumble. And I was on Bumble before, but it's been a while since I used it. I get periods of times when I'm swipe, 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 and then it would be months where I barely even check, because it's just depends on my mood. So at that point, I was just in the mood for I want that. So I was swipe, 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 and then when I went back home, I went back into that. Yes. I don't even care anymore.
Which is good, which is fortunate, because the way the system works is that if she had loaded up in Marrakesh,
if I went on
before I'd arrived in Agadir, the system would have reset, and so she wouldn't have ever have found me on.
Yes,
and it's a bit, and because it was good fortune that I arrived when I did, because I probably just caught her in time to find her on the app. Obviously, and the algorithm came up, and so it's all thanks to her sister living in Agadir and my random choice of going there, that with my friends, that meant that we ended up finding each other in that way. That, I mean, I suppose it's ultimately a technological story, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not Romeo and Juliet, but it's just interesting when you think about the vagaries and all the details.
Exactly. And it was the same for us, because I was on solo vacation in Miami back then. I started Tinder, and then on my last night, we saw each other in person. It started as a one-night stand. We stayed in contact, and now 10 years later, here we are, and I'm just somewhere in Buenos Aires, living my best life here with the dog and my husband, and still figuring things out, honestly, even after so many years, because it always adds a layer of adventure when dating someone from a different country, especially if you decide to move abroad. But that's definitely something I'm sure you can write a book about as well. What I'm especially curious about is, Ashley, when you opened your Bumble app, like, were you looking for something serious, or was it more like curiosity? Like, because as far as I understand, she was looking for something more serious. But Ashley, you were on vacation, so
So I knew it was very unlikely that I would actually meet someone, but I'm just a very naturally curious person, very curious. And also, I'd been sick the week before, so I arrived, and it was my first holiday in quite a long time. And I would just remember arriving, and I had this surge of energy. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's have a great holiday, and etc. So going on Bumble, I think I was just curious about what the Moroccan women like, what's out there, basically. So I was at a stage in my life whereby, yes, I had dated, etc. in the UK, but although I had dated internationally within the scope of the UK. But at the same time, I was just like, well, let's just see what happens. And you don't know who you're going to meet and what will happen. And so I feel
like you weren't expecting it, but you were also not against it.
Exactly. That's how I was open to the possibility, for sure. And I was just curious about what it was like to speak to Moroccan women and see what happens then. And luckily, she was one of the very first that came up and really caught my eye. Like, I definitely remember lying in my hotel bed and just like before dinner and just instantly seeing her pictures. I can always remember that moment. And I think part of me maybe knew then, maybe, like on some level, maybe that there was something, deeper, and despite her obvious beauty. Yeah, I guess I was just very curious. And thank God I was, really.
God.
It paid off.
Definitely did. It's just so lovely to see you guys together, even again if it's just virtually, knowing that you did work, that you've closed the distance, and that from it, it's just a random message. So on Bumble,
and we didn't even get to see each other that first time.
Yeah, because so we matched, and then on my first proper day there, or whatever, the first proper evening, but we were in Agadir for the whole time we were there, but we had one day in Marrakesh, like a day trip to Marrakesh. And I think I told you that, whatever.
Yeah, but we didn't.
But we never actually, because it was one of those like guided kind of day trips, like a guided sort of tour. So you arrive in Marrakesh at like, I don't know, 10 or 11 in the morning.
Yeah,
and then you leave
very restricted.
Yeah, you leave at like 5 or so, 5:30 in the afternoon. So you have like a 6 or 7 hour window in Marrakesh, and it's all structured, and you have to go here, there. Yeah. And so I knew that there was no chance I was ever going to have like sneak out and be able to meet her. But I still kind of wanted to maybe like, I still was talking to you.
We kept in touch.
Yeah. And then from that, basically, I obviously returned to the UK, and I think it was so that was mid-October, and then we didn't end up.
We stayed in touch.
Yeah, over the winter, basically, over that winter period, we stayed in touch, and for like 4 months.
We didn't get to actually see each other in person.
Yeah.
Until actually Valentine's Day was our first date, and our first time seeing each other
in the flesh. Yes.
In the flesh.
Yeah. We only had maybe like
does that come with a set of expectations as well? The question when flying over for a first date?
It wasn't it wasn't planned to be on Valentine's Day. It just happened to be that day. Yeah. It was like a long time coming feeling for me, because I've had certain somewhat similar situations, somewhat. So I never really take it seriously when like you're talking to someone virtually and they say, "I'll come see you, I'll come visit you." I'm like, "Okay, cool," but you don't like actually believe it until it happens. So I didn't want to put pressure on it because I didn't want to be disappointed. So he would mention when we stayed in touch during those 4 months that he would come visit, he wants to come see me and whatnot. But I would try not to get excited about it because, I didn't want to get my hopes up and then be disappointed. So eventually by the January time, he confirms that he did book a flight and he is going to be coming to Morocco to see me on February 14th. Yeah. So that's when we ended up seeing each other for the first time. We had our first date.
Yes. We had maybe 2 phone calls, three phone calls.
We didn't even we decided not to have any video calls because we wanted to leave that
We decided.
Yeah, because I wanted to, and you were you said, because it was closer to the us meeting time, and you were you know what, let's leave it to actually seeing each other in person. I actually like that. I was against it at first, but I ended up liking it. I feel like
we were talking you were messaging semi-frequently, not every day, but being sort of semi-regular touch. I think I got sick at some point, didn't I, as well? I think I got sick twice actually that winter, because I just was getting assailed from all corners. I remember one time I got sick and you didn't really seem to care that much.
Well, because it was way early on, they barely knew you.
Never really up.
That was but when because you went back from Morocco sick, you had a stomach bug from Morocco. Obviously, at that point, I was I don't know if I'm ever gonna see this person. We had our chance to meet up and we missed it, and now he's going back to the UK, so that's it. It's over,
Whereas but then I think the second time I got sick, I had kind of actual proper flu, and you were a lot more concerned and worried.
I was checking up on you every day.
Yeah, you were checking up on me. And but I think we had I just remember we had a phone call at some point, maybe a few weeks after I arrived back. I called her because I think I was just this is going quite well. We're still talking. Let's just see what it's like to talk on the phone.
And it was so fun.
Yeah,
it was great. I remember that phone call vividly.
Did I call you just randomly today?
No. We said we would call, and we were okay, we'll talk in an hour or so, and then we talked. Mm-hmm. But I remember it vividly. It was really, really nice. I wasn't expecting it to be that good because sometimes talking on the phone can be awkward, especially the first time call can be very awkward. But it was it felt like we've done it a billion times before that. It was very natural. We were just cracking jokes. And we were laughing so much. And I just make me laugh and I'm all yours, That's all I need. And we were we have a similar sense of humor. Mm-hmm. We got along a lot on that level. So it was an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
It's 2 hours on the phone, and it was really nice. And I remember when we hung up, I was I could get used to it. That's nice. I want more of that. More.
I think we had maybe 1 or 2 more calls after that, but despite it was being that was maybe early November or thereabouts, so it was still quite a long time before we met. We only had maybe 2 more calls, if that maybe.
But I feel how frequent we would talk got a bit got more and more intense the closer we got to meeting each other.
Yeah. We'd have the odd break, a day or 2 gap, but then we'd always generally keep things kind of simmering, and then of course we met in person. Yes. Yeah, and I can very much again remember that first encounter very much.
I mean, you had some time during your flight over to think how first encounter, in-person meeting will be like. So I'm curious, Ashley, what were you thinking?
Well, it had been a long winter, it'd been 4 months, so it'd been over that winter period, and I don't know, I just because of Christmas or whatever, and I had work stuff, so I couldn't make it any sooner. And so it kind of worked out quite well, I guess, in that respect. We had 4 months of long winter, and we'd been in touch a lot, and by that point I knew about her YouTube channel, so I'd been watching some videos.
I was just talking mutely.
And just generally, and I think I even had, at one point over that period, maybe the Christmas period or January period, I remember I asked you to insert a random word into a reaction video. So
Yeah, it was so random. He would be like, "Are you filming today?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm filming." He was like, "Okay, your challenge of the day, you need to say, like, mention the word potato in your video." And he would like, so random. And then I remember it was a Pentatonics reaction video, and I was like doing my intro, and I was like, "Yeah, so like it's been a while since like I've been gone for a while from filming. Sorry, you guys, but it's just been like a couch potato." And he watched it. And he's like, "A good one."
I knew then, and that was kind of fun to kind of set these challenges. And then, but as when we met, I just remember, and actually it was my first time kind of really being in Marrakesh properly, because I had that day trip, but that was like a few months before. It'd been literally just several hours maybe in Marrakesh. As it happens, the very first time in Marrakesh, on the day trip, the tour bus had dropped us off at the famous square in the middle of Marrakesh, outside Katoubia Mosque Tower. So there's a famous central mosque, Katoubia Mosque, and there's Jemaa al Square, which is the famous square of Marrakesh, is sort of behind that, right nearby. And we got literally dropped off the bus in that square outside the Katoubia Mosque, and that was where I literally first laid a foot on Marrakesh soil. And as it happened, 4 months later, that was where we met in the shadow of Katoubia Mosque, again in the same square, 4 months later. And it was kind of like a full circle moment, but it was certainly like a bookmark memory to sort of like have that moment of being, okay, it's the first time I ever stepped foot in Marrakesh was here, and then 4 months later I'm meeting you in the same place. And I remember she walked up to me, it was like 7 o'clock, maybe 7:30, and middle of February in Marrakesh is
Somewhat cold.
Yeah, but it's not too bad for someone like myself in London. So I think I remember she walked towards me, and you were just had this big smile and laugh, like just laughing. And yeah, I just knew that we were probably going to have a good evening. I remember we were walking along to our date location
in the Medina.
in Medina, which is just off the Jemaa after the square. We had dinner. Like we were like brushing arms and stuff. You could just feel that sort of that slight electricity of meeting someone for the first time. It's just instantly having that kind of type of connection, really. Yeah.
Did you have expectations before meeting each other in person? Because it sounds like you took it very easygoing. Like, whatever will be, will be.
Well, I feel like as a woman, you always kind of have expectations, even if you try not to. You kind of always do. But I was like at a point in my life where I was like, I've had expectations in the past, and it always like came crashing down. So at that point, it was like, yeah, I do have expectations in the back of my head, in the back of my mind, but I'm not gonna focus on them. I just want to I don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm just gonna play it cool, be myself, have fun, get to know each other, and whatever happens, happens. But obviously, the goal is to have something serious. Like, that's always the goal for me, like I don't do just flings or hookups or whatever.
And I knew that as well.
Oh, I made it very clear before we met up in person. Like when we were talking on social media and getting to know each other, I definitely made all my boundaries very clear. I definitely made it clear that my intention, I only date to marry. I don't just date for the sake of dating. So he knew all of that.
Mm-hmm. And I think by then we'd had 4 months of being in touch. So we kind of had this sense of each other to a degree. Obviously, you don't know how that's going to translate in real life. From that, pretty much that first few minutes of being in each other's company, I knew that it probably had more or less translated. Of course, there's always a chance that it wouldn't, and I would just be stuck in Marrakesh, just enjoying Marrakesh on my own, for a few days. And so I suppose I got to know the city in its own right on my own, because I was there, just staying in a hotel. But then we had that first date, and I remember, she was looking amazing. I was just entranced by her, and I just remember we had just fun. I mean, I had this ridiculous meal at the restaurant. They had it was Tagine. We had a tagine, and it was I loved tagine. My first ever meal in Marrakesh was at a restaurant nearby, and I was blown away by how good the tagine was. It was amazing. I was like, okay, I want the tagine because that's reliable. That's going to be good. And the tagine came. So I remember like
overpriced.
It was so overpriced, and it was just like this weird. It wasn't like tagine I was expecting at all. Like the meatballs were tiny, and I remember that the egg. It wasn't like a proper egg. It was like a quail's egg, which is like a type of tiny duck, tiny bird, or whatever, tiny duck. And it was literally like one of those Haribo eggs, like the size, those Haribo like candy eggs. It would look like that, not like a real egg. And like, why have they given me a Haribo candy egg? And it was just preposterous. It was absurd. It just tasted really bad.
But at least the company was good.
Yeah, and I don't know, did you eat it all?
No, because I have this rule. I know it's kind of silly, but I never eat on a first date.
Yeah.
Because I'm I can be very shy and timid at first. It takes me a little bit. I know it doesn't come across that way, especially on social media, but I am very especially at first. So it takes me a little bit of time to get comfortable around you. Then I can, especially with eating, I just feel weird eating in front of people. So I never eat on the first date. So he got his tagine. And thank God I didn't eat. So because he had a terrible.
It was a joke. It was a joke tagine.
So yeah, I just had a drink and I was just watching him struggling with the tagine.
I don't normally eat on first dates. Like I don't normally eat, but I think in that occasion I was just hungry, and I think it was just the way it worked out. So I was I'm going to eat anyway because I'm just hungry. Even if I don't normally do it. But yeah, it was a joke. And she had a nice drink. I think he had a nice drink. Yeah. And then I think we just
had a nice time. I feel like the one thing, because when we would kind of debrief later on through our relationship about our first date, we would say the same thing, that what we take away from it is how natural it felt. It felt very organic. It felt like we've done it before. We didn't feel awkward. There wasn't, honestly, no awkward moments whatsoever. Nothing I could recall. It was very we get each other's sense of humor. We laughing, making jokes, and the conversation was flowing. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and then we left that place and we went to a nearby.
Yes, to Riyadh.
Riyadh for a drink.
Chocolate.
You might be in the UK. You might have maybe an alcoholic drink, but in Morocco you just have hot chocolate as a nightcap. So I remember we walked on the way there, and I remember holding hands a little bit, and we saw a little kitten, which I was concerned about the kitten, but then street kitten. But then when we went to the Riyadh, and I remember then we actually we had our chocolate and we were discussing TV shows. There's actually that's a real shared love of ours. So I remember distinctly we had a conversation around some of our favourites, and I think we maybe had some of these kind of conversations before, but not in that way maybe. Depth, And I remember we were holding hands on the table.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and then we walked back to her scooter.
Yeah, because you've been to Marrakesh, so you know how many scooters are there, how many motorcycles. It's everywhere you go. So it's kind of the easier transportation method, I guess.
As opposed to being ripped off by taxi drivers.
Exactly. So it just makes it easier to get to where you need to go.
So I made sure she got her scoot on the scoot, as I call it. And
and I was embarrassed that he's going to see me in my little helmet.
Yeah, but I was right outside Jim and left, I swear. And then you drove off, didn't you?
Yeah, that's it.
That was the first date. We had the second date was it the next night? Or
it was the next night.
Next night.
He was there for a week, and we met up 4 or 5 times, I think, because I had work and I could only meet him after I finish work. I don't finish work till 6:30 p.m. and I can't stay out for long because obviously I have parents,
families. Whereas I've got more freedom, but
yes. Oh no, so I have to kind of juggle everything that had family, work, and then you. Oh yeah.
Was it so? Yeah. Was that after we met? What was the next day? Was it?
It was Tuesday, and then Wednesday, then Thursday was a break.
No, Wednesday was the break. Yeah, Wednesday. I remember I was having a meal by myself in.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so Thursday we met. Yes, and then you suggested we go to his place in Ahlam Avenue. It was a place at Marrakesh. And we just had walked around this exhibit by ourselves, and there are lots of moments where we could have, but
it just, again, what I take away from it is just how it flowed easily, just easily, nothing felt forced, Nothing felt awkward. The dates were fun, but they were effortless. They were easy, but like not boring easy. They were like good easy, you know. We went to the cinema, watched a movie. I took him to the secret garden in the Medina. Took pictures of each other, and then I had to say goodbye to him, and I wasn't too fond of that.
This will have been my next question, because obviously, I mean, even though if it's just a few days, you were able to see each other, like just a few hours in total, you were able to spend time together. It sounds like, I mean, effortless, you were able to catch up exactly where you left the date before. So it was just like very easy going to hang out with one another.
Yeah.
And eventually in the back of your head, you know that there will be the moment where you say your goodbyes again. Obviously, I'm wondering, how did you end from like dating very intensively in 1 week to saying goodbye at the airport? Like, what was the status quo the moment you said goodbye?
Yeah, well, I would say that was the thing I struggled with the most, because I was like around day 4, I was like, okay, like what now? You know? I'm like, this is like going discover. I'm having this conversation with myself in my head. I'm like, well, what now? Like, are we gonna discuss like what's the plan for the future? Are we gonna? And we didn't talk about any of that. And I was slightly disappointed, because I was waiting for that conversation to come up, and it never did. And I was like, well, what's gonna happen now?
I suppose partly because of the circumstances, but obviously largely because of the cultural differences.
Yes.
Like, obviously in Morocco, dating is like not really a thing.
Yeah.
At least it's not
It's not in the same way.
Whereas in the UK or in Western culture, you can date almost indefinitely. You know, there's a lot more kind of like permissiveness there.
Yeah.
There's less of a sort of an intense pressure, maybe necessarily. Like if you meet someone like 4 times or 5 times in the UK or in a more kind of Western context, that's not really a big deal. Like it's not like, whereas in Morocco or similar cultures, it's like, what does this mean? Like, where's this going? Those questions are asked a lot more earlier in the process. I mean, partly
I would say,
a combination of reasons, really.
Another thing why did those sorts of questions come up a bit earlier, to me, in the back of my head, was it's more because of the long distance aspect of our relationship, more than the culture, more than my culture itself. Because like now you're gonna go back to your country, and we're gonna be away, and God knows when we're gonna get to see each other. So I would like to know what's the plan.
Yes. But then I came back. In the next month, I came back. So I still had more paid leave from work, and over that period of time. So.
Yeah, but that wasn't discussed when he was still in Marrakesh.
So he left.
It just left, it was left just unsaid. Like, we didn't plan it. We didn't discuss what's gonna happen next. Nothing. We just say goodbye. And I was kind of like, I almost detached myself from the idea of him, so I wouldn't again get my hopes up and be disappointed. So I was like, I'm just gonna like leave it be. If it's meant to happen, it'll happen. If not, it's fine. Like, I'm not gonna, work myself up about it. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. We said goodbye, and we kind of like transitioned back to just talking on the phone and on messaging and whatnot. And eventually I just couldn't keep it in anymore. It's like, well, you need to tell me what we're doing. I'm not gonna be. I remember this. It was a phone call, and I was like I was very grumpy that day. And I just remember I was like, I'm not. You need to tell me like what's going on, because I'm not gonna be waiting here forever. So you either want me or you don't. Waiting for. I remember saying this, and I was almost like holding back the laughter. I was like, "What are you? Were you waiting for someone to come and snatch me up?" Oh my gosh! And you're like, "Huh? What?"
What's going on?
Yeah, I had
no idea.
I had every intention of seeing her again.
Yeah, but you just didn't voice it.
That's the thing. I mean, that might be a slight cultural difference there. Could be like. Also, Ahlam, I'm wondering, is that something that's common in your culture, to be like so direct and just be like, "Hey, tell me what's up"? Because what would it?
Would you say like A part of it is from my background and my culture, but I would say mostly it's just me, because I know a lot of people who would just like kind of like they essentially don't care. They would just go with it. But I was and he caught me at a certain moment in my life, at a certain point in my life where I was just like, I'm not getting any younger. Like
You were 26, but yeah.
no, but like yeah, but who's getting any younger? No one's getting any younger. Everyone's getting older. So, but I was like, okay, like I've done what I need to do. Well, like I studied. I had a job. You know, I was like, I feel like I'm ready for that next moment.
Knew what you wanted in that very moment. Like it was just like,
I don't want to waste anyone's time, and I don't want anyone to waste my time. So, you know, like, it's just, I know what I want, and you should know what you want. And if those two things don't match, that's fine. But at least we know.
So, Ashley, when
Yes.
you were confronted, like, hey, what's going on here? Where you were just like, hey, yeah, obviously, like, it's something more serious going on.
I kind of knew that was how Ahlam wanted, just because I was like, I knew that was generally what she was sort of thinking, and I was just, you know, I'm a bit more relaxed. So
he's very relaxed.
So I was like, yeah, a bit serious. I'm not worried about it. And also, I think one of the overriding thoughts was like, well, I have no reason to not want to see her again. It was like, at any point I've ever thought like, nah, I don't want to see her again. That thought never crossed my mind. So I was like, well, if I've not had that thought, why would I want to stop seeing her? So of course I'm going to continue. So I vaguely recall that conversation.
Yes.
Question. I mean, my memory is maybe more jacked up, but I just was like, yeah, like, and I think even by then, I came back pretty soon, didn't I?
Yeah.
I came back pretty soon in March.
End of March.
Towards the end of March. So we saw each other again.
My issue never expected us to get married the next day, you know, or even get engaged the next day or nothing like that. It just needed to know what was going on through his head, you know. I need to know where he stood in a sense.
So we spent more time together in March, didn't we?
Yes.
And quite a bit more time together.
Yeah, he came back. For what was it, like 10 days?
Somewhere in that
2
ballpark.
weeks. Almost.
Maybe not quite that long, but maybe 10 days.
Yeah, and we just kept on like going on dates, doing different activities, like quad biking, and going to dinner, and spend more time. And it was Ramadan at that point as well.
Oh yes,
it was Ramadan in Morocco, so I was fasting, which again made things more difficult because I barely have the energy to do anything. But
it was shut, or sort of the
atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I would have instead of usually I would finish work and then go meet him, but now I can't because I finish work. I have to wait to break fast and then eventually go out. So that pushed the timeline of us meeting. We would meet around 7. Now we met around 9.
Was it that
very late?
late?
Yeah, because it was I would break fast around 7:30, 8. Yeah. So that made it, that was a whole different challenge on its own. But I feel like it went better than I thought it would go.
Yeah. I just trying to think what it was that we did. I mean,
we went different parts of Marrakesh.
Just more Marrakesh, to be honest.
And you had a serious conversation about what's next.
Yeah, well, eventually.
Your relationship,
I
whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
The more time I spent with her, the more I liked her. Like I was kind of going up and up. So, and then we had a conversation towards the end, didn't we?
We had a few conversations leading up, but the conversation that sealed the deal was the day before he left again. It was April 1st. We decided that we're gonna be exclusive. We don't want to talk to anyone else. We don't want to see anyone else. That's it.
Yeah. We had to decide when we're gonna see each other next, because then we knew it wouldn't be for quite some time. Like it wouldn't be for the best part of 10 weeks, 11 weeks, thereabouts, which is quite a long time to be apart, because that gap between February and March wasn't very long. It was maybe 3 or 4 weeks, not even much that. But now that we'd reached a certain point, it was okay, we're now going to wait 2-3 months before we see each other. Anyone who's been in a long distance kind of scenario, sucks. It's never fun, but that was the start,
Yeah.
wasn't it, really, for us?
Yeah, but I didn't even care about that talk. I was just excited that he's the one who brought up the whole being exclusive. I was like, hey, finally, yeah, it took you long enough. Exactly. But I was like, and I started teasing him, like, but I still want to see other people. I didn't like to tease you because I just wanted to get a reaction out of you. And he got all jealous and I loved it.
Yeah, so I think it was just, and that was like, that then started the train from which, where we are today.
Yes.
That was in spring of 23, wasn't it? So
Yeah, that was
more than
April
2 years ago,
2020. From there on out, we would basically see each other every 2-3 months, and it would always be him visiting because me visiting is a whole ordeal because then I'll have to apply for a UK tourist visa, and that's not always like very convenient or straightforward, and it was a whole thing.
So basically, maybe every 10 weeks or thereabouts.
Yeah, and I did feel slightly guilty about the fact that he was the one who was always visiting, and but it was kind of out of our control in a sense because at the point where I could start thinking about visiting you, I quit my job and I was working freelance, and then that would like make the whole applying for a visa thing even more complicated than it was. So that kind of went out of the window, and
Yeah, so we would talk on video.
Oh, video calls.
I'd say most nights. I'd say probably like 5.
Like every 2 nights, every other night.
I'd say that probably 5 times a week, maybe thereabouts. And again, anyone's been in that situation, it knows it doesn't truly reproduce the feeling of being together in person, but it's just the best you can do in that scenario. And it was like, it's funny because now my brain's like memory hold it, but that was like quite a lot. That was a long part of my life, a long time. But now because we live together, it feels so different. Back then it was like it was just that sense of being separated and being
we would watch movies over like video calls. We would
but then
be talking
by the time it
like
looked like say like 3 weeks to go, 4 weeks to go,
the countdown.
You can count down, and then it becomes a bit easier because almost like
that's too
but that initial separation, the first week or two being separated was never fun, and then the kind of like that middle bit was always a struggle. But they kind of then when you got to like weeks 3 or 4, which is funny because you're literally wishing your life away, time away, but just so we could be together again for a week or 2 weeks or 10 days or whatever. So,
but it helps when you have like when the next time you're gonna see each other, when you have like a set date, not even like it doesn't have to be like a precise date, but we're gonna see each other in like
that time
month and so. It helps because like at least you have something to look forward to. So that kind of was my saving grace. Otherwise, I would have went crazy.
We did the same, by the way. So in our case, because at that time my husband was living in the US, I was still in Germany.
Yeah.
So we would make sure that we would see each other every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And have a date already in place. When we say our goodbyes, we knew, okay, that's the day. Then we'll see each other again. So we started counting days again. And it's just like, the whole thing of long distance relationship, thinking back now, I mean, several years already, but I remember so well how nervous I was every time. Like when your hands are getting sweaty before seeing each other again, like, the butterflies. It's just like the most incredible feeling. And then you have the total opposite, the moment you have to say goodbye again at the airport and you're just like, that just sucks. Why are we even doing this? This is so annoying.
Oh, it's coming. He's leaving in 2 days. Oh no, he's leaving tomorrow. That's like the worst part.
I feel like we were lucky in some sense though, because the time difference isn't that. I mean, there was a bit of a thing around the time at a certain point of the year. I forget how it works, but basically for most of the year, Morocco and UK on the same time. I couldn't imagine conceiving being in a long distance relationship where you've got like hours separating you between 5, 6 hours or 12 hours or 8 hours. That would be a literal nightmare. We were lucky that at least we had that in sync. It was easier when they were on the exact same time. There was a portion when we were out of sync, which was a little bit annoying at times because it has a knock-on effect, but still, like, for the most part, we were on more or less on the same time, which did help a lot. But,
and thank God for technology. I mean, at least we could see each other through like video calls and whatnot. Imagine not even being able to do that.
Yes, usually like, it's like a couple of hours maybe most.
Sometimes like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, especially if we were watching a show.
Oh yeah, I could go on and on.
But it was usually like 2 or 3 hours, maybe most nights, I'd say, maybe. But yeah, it's much better living together than having that.
Yeah, and by December
Yes.
2023, we had a discussion about like the future of our relationship, and that's when we started talking about marriage. And obviously, I never was like someone that would basically say like we need to get married. Like I didn't want to give him an ultimatum, but at the same time, I wanted to make it clear that like I need to know the timeline, like heading up to the next year. Like what's the plan? And if in Morocco, you don't just like get proposed to and then you go, oh, I'm engaged. It doesn't work like that. It's basically our version of getting engaged is when the person you're with comes to your home to meet your family. So like there is no like meeting up the family when you're dating, because the family doesn't even know you're dating in Morocco, you know? So basically him meeting my family is basically him asking for my hand in marriage, and essentially us getting married and getting engaged. So we had that discussion in September, and we decided that...
No, it was December, wasn't it?
December.
You said September.
Oh, sorry, December.
Yeah.
And we decided that he would, like his next visit,
Yes.
which is another 3 months, it was March.
It was basically like engaged to be engaged.
Yeah.
To be engaged.
Yeah, essentially.
And yeah, it was like, because in Morocco, it's almost like the man just turns up. It's almost like...
Yeah, as if he fell from the sky. I've never met him in my life. But it's
very,
just
you know, everyone pretends as if they never met, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, they haven't met.
It's like an unspoken thing.
Yes.
Like everyone knows you're dating, probably dating, but no one speaks about it.
You're not even talking about who you're dating. You didn't tell your family that you're dating someone from the UK at the moment. This guy is just flying over.
No.
But basically...
I just turned up.
Yeah.
No, she told them, so what happened, we had that conversation in December.
Yeah.
And then I was shortly before Christmas. And then...
Yes. And then we decided, well, we need to set up like a plan for the next year, because he said that the next year I could potentially visit 4 times a year. So if like you like split that by 12 months, so that's every 3 months. So it's March, then June, September, then December. So then we were like, well, let's take the next step by like you meeting my parents in March.
Oh, was it March? It was very beginning of March. It was literally the very start of March.
Yes.
It was only like 2 months through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you told your parents. So I told so we resolved to tell our families.
Yeah. Well, but we only decided to tell them when we actually confirmed that you were gonna be March is the plan.
So basically we had set the intention that we were going down this direction, this path, and then I told my mum or my parents like maybe like before New Year's, maybe was it? I think it was after Christmas, but it was before New Year's. And then you told after I told my parents, you told your mum, and then you told your dad.
No.
Well,
Well, I told my mom first, because that's kind of what you do. Like, not even in this scenario, just like any girl who's getting married in Morocco, usually you would tell your mom and kind of like push her to tell your dad, you know, like you don't, because like it's just like you can't like talk to your dad about love and marriage. It's just awkward, you know. So you get the mom to talk to him about it. Yeah. Although I do have a very, very close relationship with my dad, but it's just a thing that you do. So I told my mom, I told her New Year's Eve. I remember vividly, I told her New Year's Eve. And I was very nervous, because this isn't just me telling her that there's a man who wants to meet you guys. There's a foreign man who wants to meet you. He's not Moroccan. He's not Muslim. He's not this. He's white. You know, all these things. And you have no way of expecting what your parents' reaction is going to be like. It's just literally taking a leap of faith, and whatever happens will dictate the rest of your life, you know? And I know my parents, like, they're not, I grew up within a great household. I had an amazing relationship with both my parents, very close to my dad. My dad's like the coolest guy. He's like, my parents I come from a conservative family, but we're not too conservative, not too strict. We're kind of like in the middle of like the spectrum when it comes to Moroccan or Arab families in general. Not too strict, but also we have certain, you know, standards, like principles we have to live by. obviously I knew my parents weren't gonna be like, no, you can never, this is, I knew it wasn't gonna be like that, but I was still nervous about, their reaction. So I remember telling my mom, it was just me and her in the kitchen, and I was randomly, it was like, I have something to tell you, and I was like, well, there's this guy, and I immediately threw it in her face. He's not Moroccan. Just let's get it out of the way. Let's just get it out of the way. I told her, well, he's not Moroccan, and my mom had the strangest reaction. As like at a certain point, I was almost like, well, at least get angry, just do something. Like, she did not react at all. She was so chill about it, and she was beaming. My mom was like, never treated me as nice as she did when she learned about Ashley's existence. From then on, she was just like, I would just catch her looking at me smiling. She was so happy. But she was just thrilled about the news. And I just remember, like, I started telling her about him, and I was waiting for her to, like, ask me questions. She didn't ask. I was like, well, ask me about him. She's like, no, you can just tell me. So I told her, and then I told her, like, he lives in the UK. He's at a... And I showed her his picture, and I remember when she looked at him, and she was like, he looks like a good guy. He has a kind face. That's all I remember her saying. She said that he has a kind face. And she was like, I have a good feeling about it. So, like, her intuition was telling her that.
Also, I mean, obviously she knows you and
Yeah.
she trusts you.
Yes.
So she
Yeah,
trusts
that's
you
the thing, yeah.
And you've made your decision.
With my parents, they both said, like, obviously, like, we raised you well enough to trust that you would make good choices. And yeah, I told her. And then the next day, I told my sisters, and like, my sister's very chill. Like, they were, okay, cool. I told my sister, and she was like, well, I told her, well, he's not Moroccan. She was like, yeah, duh. She just expected it. Like, she knew immediately. Like, she was like, and I was like, are you shocked? And she was like, no, not really. Like, it was kind of expected. And I was like, okay, because I feel like I'm the only one in my family who's always been into, like, I grew up with, like, American movies and very, like, Americanized in that sense. That's how I learned English, and I'm the only one who, like, speaks fluent English in my family that way. And then with, like, my YouTube channel, and so it was kind of like I was immersed in that world, but not really. So they kind of expected it, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. You told your parents.
And also, they knew that you weren't necessarily into Morocco.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always, like, I'm very opinionated, and I always, like, voiced that I just don't get along with Moroccan men. Nothing against them. Not obviously, there's something wrong with everyone in the world, every culture, every type of nationality, whatever. But just for me, my thought process, my personality type, my sense of humor, I just came to the realization that I just don't get along with Moroccan men or Arab men in general, and nothing's wrong with that. People have their preferences, nothing against them. They have their own thing. And he had a similar thing as well. When you had, like, kind of realized through the years that you don't get along with English girls.
Yeah,
you preferred like an international.
I would say that maybe the idea had always been there to some greater or lesser degree, but I think certainly as I got older, I just liked the idea of it wasn't just dating, but eventually probably marrying someone who was from beyond the UK, and that idea just appealed to me, even just as an idea. And then, of course, I was lucky enough to meet Ahlam to make that a reality, but it was the kind of thing where, like, I didn't want to, like, it just seemed too boring and conventional to me, and it lacked, I think there was I guess maybe my curiosity or whatever, it was just a factor that just was very compelling to me as an idea. I just couldn't imagine actually marrying someone from the UK. So, but when it came to telling my parents, I was definitely quite apprehensive about it, for sure. Because, again, you're defying the norm to a degree, or, not acting more the norm. But my parents were like, my mum and my dad, I told my mum first, and later on I told my dad. I told my mum, and she was, like, completely chill about it, like, completely, I mean, it wasn't that it wasn't as if she didn't care, it was just that she had no negative judgment on it whatsoever. And was completely...
Yeah, I remember we were laughing about it, saying, like, no one seemed to care as much as we thought.
Yeah, like, I knew that they probably would be okay with it. Like, I knew that but still, you always have that degree of natural nervousness. So the fact that they were very okay about it was a big weight off my shoulders for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the number one thing that we were nervous about is just the religion aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's probably number one. Yeah,
that was like the thing that we were nervous about, like when it came down to having a conversation with our parents. And that was obviously, I mean, it was sorted out between us, but obviously you have to translate that to the parents as well.
But so that went very well, and then so we started the new year, 2024. You know, to both our families, you know, we were single, and suddenly on the cusp of the new year, we were suddenly not single, and actually not just dating, seeing someone, but actually about to get engaged. So it was a real whiplash, I guess, from then. I remember speaking to my sister on the phone about it and stuff. You know, it's I mean, also my friends knew, of course. As family goes.
Absolutely. The big one I feel like was my dad. Like that was like the last one. We told everyone except him.
But your mom told him, right?
Told her to wait until he books his flight, because I don't want to we don't want to tell my dad and then like he would like have to postpone or cancel or not come, you know. I wanted to be sure that he's come, like it's confirmed, that there's a confirmed date for me to tell my dad. So my mom basically just gave him the title, and then she was like, okay, now you go. She just gave him the summary of what's going on, and they're like, it's your turn. She just threw me to the walls.
Was it upstairs?
Yeah.
Upstairs,
Yeah, I remember I was downstairs in my room, and my mom came and she was like, I told your dad and he's asking for you. Oh my God. And then I came upstairs and he was just laughing. He was like, what is this I'm hearing about? You can imagine my dad's way of saying it. And then he was like, who's this guy? And then I started telling him about Ashley, and my dad was he wasn't concerned, but he was worried in like the way a parent would worry. My dad's main thing was like, well, it's difficult when it's like a mixed marriage because obviously different cultures, you know, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. And at the same time, you're gonna be moving to a different country, and it's not like if something happens or something goes wrong, we can just hop on a car and come to you. That option is not available anymore. So that was scary to him.
So he knew, or you guys knew, that the next step would be for you to move to the UK.
That was the only thing that Ashley was very like, it was like your non-negotiable.
Yeah, basically. Yes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, my non-negotiable was obviously, because that's just like, it's like an unspoken thing again, is that obviously in order for us to be like to get married, Ashley has to convert. So that was kind of just like that was mentioned before we even met in person. That was mentioned, like, because you just got to get it out of the way. So that was kind of my non-negotiable in a way, but his non-negotiable was that we need to live in the UK because his work is in the UK. And I was understanding. I mean, I was kind of like 50-50 in the way of like, I don't care about where I live. If I had to choose, I would want to stay in Morocco. But at the same time, I can logically, if we take emotions out of it, I can understand that just objectively, it would be easier for me to adapt than it would be for him, just based on language alone. Like, yes. I can easily adapt to live in here because I speak the language, because of a lot of things.
I've spent time in Morocco since then.
Yeah.
I can testify. I cannot survive the summers. Yes. So just on that alone, it was like, if you can't leave your house for like 4 months without burning alive, then I'm not built for that. And so I was like, and also I just did economically, etc., professionally, I just knew that it would make more sense to stay in the UK.
Yeah, so I made it clear for him, like, I'm good either way. It's up to you. Like, I'm good with staying in Morocco and I'm good with going to the UK. So it's all up to you, whatever you want to do. Because I've never been someone who's like keen on leaving Morocco. Like, it wasn't something that I was like striving to do. Like, I had opportunities in the past due to like my academics and my work and whatnot, and that was never something I actually chose or wanted to pursue. But at the same time, I was never fully against it. I was always like, I'm open to it. I could do it if I had a reason to. I could move to a different country either for work or for someone I love, and there we are. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
But to get back a little bit,
but your dad
before getting to the part, yeah, exactly. I'm wondering Like, how was the first time, like, Ashley entered the room, met your family in March? So that was the official start of you being engaged, and just a few months later, you guys got married. But the very moment you introduced him to your parents, how did you, first of all, how did you prepare for it? Because it's a big deal as far as I understand in your culture. And second of all, how was the moment?
Just also say about that saying about your dad. You didn't like say much about your dad talking about stuff. And
because another thing I was worried with my dad is the age gap, because he's essentially 10 years older than me.
I'm ancient.
He's ancient. I mean, he doesn't look it, but and that was never something that bothered me, but I knew it could bother my dad. Because when you're just you're telling him, there's a guy and he's 10 years older, and he hasn't even seen what he looks like. He's probably thinking, she's married this very old white man,
He's got kids in the family already or whatever.
So he was very, what? But he was very like, what? So I always give him the rundown. This is his age. This is what he does. This is where he lives. We already, we already spoke about religion. We already spoke about where we would live, how we would raise kids, like all of the big stuff we already kind of spoke about. We align on so many things, even with the whole culture, different cultures and whatnot. I was giving my dad everything he needs so he can to reassure him, but he was still on the fence. I feel like he was just like, this is something that would go away with time. Obviously, when I do get to meet him, then I would get a more peace of mind. And then I was like, well, do you want me to show you a picture? I remember I showed him a picture. He's like, he looks young. He's very handsome. And I was like, yeah. But yeah, and then the time came, March came.
Yes.
And you got to meet them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know did I meet, I flew in. Did I meet them the day after I flew in or 2 days later?
I don't remember as well. Yeah, it was a random day. It wasn't the weekend. Doesn't matter.
Maybe Sunday. I think it was a Sunday, maybe.
Doesn't matter. I don't remember that specific day.
But I remember, I think it was a Sunday, but then I remember did I have to bring...
Yeah. Oh, we went to buy certain things. Yes. Yeah, because obviously, you're going to meet the parents, you have to bring certain things with you, flowers and chocolate and what just stuff you bring with you. Because this is the engagement before the engagement, so you kind of And he came into the house.
We got to that point. Did I arrive on my own? Or did you were there, weren't you? I was there, but I brought the stuff with me. And that was it. Yeah, and it was 2:00 in the afternoon or thereabouts, maybe. And
he was coming to have lunch with us.
Yes, and it was a late lunch, wasn't it? Yes. And I think I had to go somewhere to pick up something from the supermarket first, maybe.
No, that was the engagement.
Oh, okay. So we arrived 2:00 or whatever it was, and I was so interested to see Ahlam's neighborhood where
he was just curious to see the house and
because I'm just someone who I'm very nosy. I want to know what's where people live, what's the house like, what's the neighborhood like, what's the community, what's the vibe, what's the aesthetics, how do things look, And I asked lots of questions about her house before. Yes. I was very curious about your house in general, and I think I'd seen it maybe. Video call. But I think I'd gone by the taxi once, just kind of, I was nosy, but not actually got it. So I arrived and I was like, okay, this is it. And I remember I knocked on the door and
my dad.
No, someone else didn't your...
No, it was my dad.
Was it my nephew answered the door?
No, my nephew was in school.
No, it was a Sunday. Your nephew and niece were definitely around.
Yeah, because my dad had to leave us in the living room because he had to go pick up Mohammed from school. Remember that?
So it wasn't a Sunday.
No.
It was a Sunday.
No, that was the June engagement.
But yeah, but then your niece and nephew were definitely playing around.
Yeah, because after you got them back from school.
Well, history's a funny thing in my mind. So but I remember saying, I could have sworn these. I could have sworn that your nephew answered the door.
No,
okay. Well, I just remember your dad. Oh,
my dad answered the door.
And was he wearing a suit?
Yeah. Oh, my dad. It was my dad pulled all the stuff. He was looking good.
And I knew how things were before she gave me a bit of a rundown, etc. and stuff. And I always had a good feeling about her dad. Always had a good feeling.
This episode has a little cliffhanger because It's 2 hours long in total. Therefore, I decided to split it in two. You've just listened to the first part of the episode, and the second part will be published on the 26th of October. So stay tuned and listen to the second part. If you would like to listen to the whole episode, just check out International Love Story on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else you're listening to your podcasts. There you will find the whole episode already. Thank you so much for listening and or for watching to today's podcast episode. If you like what I'm doing, don't forget to rate the podcast with 5 stars wherever you're listening to it. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. And also, as mentioned in the previous podcast episode, I do have some exciting workshops lined up. So those are free workshops, especially for women who are dating interculturally. Next week, Friday, the 31st of October, for example, Linda Müller will hold a workshop on the topic of how to make friends as an adult while living abroad. The week after, we'll talk about communication in an intercultural relationship. Afterwards, we'll talk about de-escalation in intercultural relationships. We'll talk about raising kids multilingual, and another topic will be paperwork, Schengen visa, K1 visa. If this is what you're interested in, all those workshops are free. So you can just join, just sign in. You'll find the sign-in links and the timeline below with a little bit more information. Hope to see you there as well, and wishing you a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are right now. And please take care. Bye!